And God Created Woodman is the 14th episode of the 6th season of Cheers. Excitedly, this is directed by John Ratzenberger. And of course, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Carla in pain with the twins, in theory. And actually, she's going to a Celtics home game, and Rebecca can see right through this, but she goes off nevertheless. This is the second episode in a row where Carla is only in the beginning, and she's not in the rest of the episode. And I'm wondering, in fact, it's more than likely that she was off having her son at that point, because according to IMDb, the episode was filmed on November the 18th, 1987, and according to Wikipedia, her son was born on or in October 1987. So I assume that that's why that is the case there. But if anybody has any more information, please feel free to share. And after the intro, the main narrative is established. Rebecca comes excitedly running out of her office. She finally has her ticket out of here, apparently, and she's been asked to organise a cocktail party, and she's very, very excited about this. Cliff then comes in to establish the subplot, which I have to say made me laugh a lot towards the end, but we'll get there in due course. But he comes in singing about shiny shoes, and it turns out that he's selling mail-order shoes, but he says he's selling dreams, and they're only $19.99, so everybody decides to put their name down for them, and we'll come back to that towards the end. Sam and Woody then decide to go and talk to Rebecca because they are not allowed to bartend at the cocktail party. And Rebecca tells them, well, actually, I just need you at Cheers. That's the only reason why. But Sam gives a speech about how he's good enough for this, and that by rejecting him for bartending this, he feels like he's not good enough, or like Rebecca is saying he's not good enough. And she finally agrees and says, okay. I don't know who was then bartending Cheers. I guess she probably just hired some relief bartenders. But I do think hiring just relief bartenders would be a bit of a risk to leave them alone in Cheers. I guess in theory Carla was there. Obviously we weren't there, so we don't know. And we then cut to the party. Woody and Sam are smartly dressed in matching outfits. Woody is using this vase. He thinks it's a trash can. Rebecca tells him it's not a trash can. Go and empty it. So Woody takes this vase, and then we hear a smash. And obviously, we are led to believe for a couple of seconds that he's broken this expensive vase. And he comes out saying, don't worry, it was only a tray of glasses, which isn't great, but better than the vase. And Rebecca takes the vase because she no longer trusts Woody, and we hear another smash. And Rebecca, her expression, her facial expression, or in a way the absence of expression, she's very vacant in just shock at what happens, because she comes out, her hands out in front of her where the vase once was. I don't know if I've gone back and forth with saying vase and vase. I apologise if I have. That annoys me. Sometimes I say vase, sometimes I say vase. I apologise if I've been inconsistent. But she comes back out with her hands in front of her where the vase once was, and clearly she broke it. And she's obviously devastated, and Sam is going to take the fall. But then Mr. Collier comes up and says, where is this vase? And I guess spur of the moment, Woody decides to say that he broke it. And Mr. Collier kind of applauds him for being honest, and it goes really well for him. Sam spends some time trying to flirt, pretending he's rich, and it took me a minute to realise how I felt about this, because I didn't have any thoughts. And previously, in this season, whenever he's flirted with somebody, I have instantly gone, but what about Diane? Because that wound was still very fresh. But he was flirting, and it took me a minute or so to kind of think of Diane and remember that they have this long history. So it's starting to not necessarily feel better that he's not with Diane, but it's no longer as jarring when he's flirting with somebody. My mind isn't instantly thinking, why are you cheating on Diane? So that's taking a bit of time, but I think finally starting to get there. And we then cut to the pool room. Woody and Pinky, as he's calling him, Mr. Collier. Mr. Collier, played by Peter Hansen. I don't think I mentioned that. They're getting along really well, and it's really delightful to see them both having a lot of fun and being relaxed, and their bow ties are untied, and it's very chaotic, but it's good fun. And Rebecca realises that Woody is really bonding with Mr. Collier, and that's what she should be doing. So, believing Mr. Collier would react the same way, she decides to confess that it wasn't Woody who broke the vase, it was her. And I think it was pretty predictable that he does not react the same way as he did with Woody. But Woody vouches for Rebecca, and he points out that she's a good person with a good heart, and because of Woody's little speech, Mr. Collier decides to give Rebecca a second chance. We then cut back to Cheers. And something that I was missing Cheers in this episode. It's not that I didn't enjoy the scene at the cocktail party, but I was missing Cheers. And as the show progresses, as the seasons progress, we do spend less and less time away from the bar. But I always feel like they cut back to the bar just at the right moment, just before we're left missing it for too long. And I think that that's definitely the case here as well. And Cliff comes in with all of the shoes for everybody that they'd ordered. And Norm puts on his shoes. And with every footstep, there's a squeak. And honestly, it gets quite loud because then everybody else puts their shoes on. And we just have so many people in the bar with their squeaky shoes on, and it's so funny. It gets even funnier, but it is funny, I promise. But it was very entertaining. And Mr. Collier then comes in, and I think this is very unpredictable. I'd forgotten this. I've seen this episode before, but I'd forgotten that this is what happens. He comes in and asks to speak to Rebecca, and he was so drunk he couldn't remember what had happened. He'd rediscovered the broken vase after the party and asked Rebecca, do you know what had happened? And Woody happens to come in dressed for skiing, and obviously he's not aware that Mr. Collier has forgotten, and he kind of skips up behind him and says, guess who, Pinky? And jabs him in the butt with the ski pole. And needless to say, that was very awkward. Because if somebody did that to you and you didn't even know who they were or didn't remember who they were, that would be an unusual moment. And Rebecca tries to get out of this bizarre situation by shouting, fire, fire. And obviously everybody stands up to run out of the bar, but they've all got their squeaky shoes on. And just the sounds are fantastic. And then they all scamper back to their bar stools on command, and everybody's running with their squeaky shoes on, and it's fabulous fun. And Sam refers to them as the Squeaky Shoes Club, which I really liked. And Mr. Collier is about to find out that it was Rebecca who broke the vase. And Sam, because he has a good heart, realises that it would be significantly worse for Rebecca than if Mr. Collier believed Sam did it. So Sam says it was him. And Mr. Collier's response, you have grit. And of course, Rebecca is just so annoyed by this because yet again, somebody has taken the heat for her, and yet again, it seems to have worked in their favour. And that's how we end things. The squeaky shoes, very, very funny, very entertaining. It's a really good episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely some progress made with Sam and not Diane. I'm still not happy about it, but it's starting to get a little bit easier, which is a good thing. And we had some really great moments here. Highlights would be it's the squeaky shoes. The squeaky shoes are absolutely the highlight, but also seeing Woody really relaxed and excitable in the pool room, that was really nice as well. So a really good episode. Also, just Sam and Woody being on the same wavelength is quite different. Obviously, in previous seasons, Sam was Woody's boss, but now they're both bartenders. They're both, in terms of the pecking order, on the same level. And that's really nice to see. They're not as, in my opinion, as golden as Norm and Cliff. But at the same time, Sam and Woody make a really good duo. And I really like that. And we definitely get a strong sense of that in this episode. Needless to say, really funny episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it.